Hi, everyone. It's Rob, and thanks for listening in today. I greatly appreciate your time. A new year. As co-CEO of Image One, I'm curious about the many new beginnings that 2021 will bring. And I want to express my deep gratitude for all of your support and gratitude to my friends Ashish and Jimpa, as well as the team here at Image One for helping to make leading with genuine care a real difference maker in this world. Now, if you haven't added your name to our email list, please do so. Go to donothingbook.com and you can do that there. If you're a regular listener, you know we've had many important conversations with some amazing people. So if you're inspired, please share the podcast with your friends, coworkers, and people in your network. Okay, so my guest today is Nancy Jacobson, CEO of No Labels, a political organization which advocates for finding bipartisan approaches to solving current political issues. I think most of us are for that, especially these days. So no labels means not left, not right, forward. Nancy was named one of the 50 most powerful people in Washington, D.C. by GQ magazine. Let me say that again. 50 most powerful people in Washington, D.C. And the New York Times columnist, David Brooks, describes Nancy as an undeterrable leader. She's worked in politics since 1984 when she arrived in Washington, D.C., and her skill is raising money for candidates and causes she believes in. Prior to founding No Labels, she served as National Finance Chairman for former Governor and Senator from Indiana, Bayh. No Labels spurred the creation of the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is a bloc of House and Senate members composed of Democrats and Republicans who, by belonging to the group, commit to finding bipartisan solutions. You will be inspired by Nancy's ability to bring her political network together to collaborate and discuss how to find true compromise, and ultimately lead with genuine care for the people they serve. So please enjoy my chat with Nancy. Hi, Nancy. It's so good to see you today. Thank you for joining me.
It's good to be here. Good to see you.
I've been so excited to talk to you because I love what you're doing at this organization you founded, No Labels. And I think it's important for our listeners to understand how you got to this point. And so I'm wondering if you can share these experiences that sort of drove your passion to create this organization.
Thanks. I've always been interested in politics, in giving whatever gift I have to help the country. And so it's really all I've ever done in my career, from college organizing to graduating college and being involved. And spent many, many years. My last assignment was with a man called Senator Baye, the two-term governor from Indiana, two-term senator. And I spent about 15 years working with him. It was after the Clinton effort and other assignments. And he decided to resign from the United States Senate because he was just so dispirited and worn down by the acrimony and the divisiveness and the inaction of our government. Witnessing that and giving 15 years of my life to somebody who I thought would continue on and do more things in public life gave me a moment of pause to think through how was I going to spend the rest of my life, and how do I become not defeated and carry on. And at that point, I realized I didn't want to work for another politician. I wanted to create something that citizens and regular people could engage with and could have a vehicle to express themselves, because it was just about that time where there was a moment of such hope and optimism with President Obama coming into the White House. It was a moment, I think the whole nation was unified, but very quickly it turned. And, I did witness that we ended up passing the healthcare reform a very significant piece of legislation. In fact, never before in the history of our country, such a significant piece of legislation was passed by only one party. And at that moment, it seemed as if, our country was starting to tear, and the acrimony was starting to build.
Mm.
And I just felt it was important to start some sort of organization that would try to bring people together and try to repair and heal in any way we knew how. So that was the impetus, and the Evan Bayh experience was the kick I needed to come up with this.
Okay. And what does no labels mean?
No labels doesn't mean give up a label, right? I know it's confusing. No labels means put labels aside, no labels in the room so we can solve problems. And so we respect Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever view, but you can't have labels in the room as you try to solve problems.
I thought I read something that's not left, not right, forward.
Exactly.
How is the organization funded?
What's interesting is, most organizations, if you go to any organization in Washington, D.C., from any think tank to any advocacy group, for the most part, all of these organizations are funded by corporate interests, the corporate interests that swarm around Washington. And it was interesting. To be honest, I would have been open when we started this. I didn't have a cent. I had to figure out a way to raise money. I would have been open to that, but none of the corporate interests took us seriously. They just sort of thought we were a do-good group and a flight of fancy. So really what I had to do is such hard work. I had to, day by day, call by call, try to persuade just individuals all across this country to support our work. So in an interesting way, by the corporate interests not caring or giving us a shot or believing it, it really forced me to build a national network of leaders that really want nothing more but for our government to work.
So great. And, I think, and you know better, so please correct me on this. I want to believe that people get into public service because they actually care. But these days, as we record this, sometimes it doesn't seem like they care for the whole. And I'm just curious, what exactly can you provide insight to what exactly is happening with those members, these elected officials of our House and our Senate? What is happening over there?
You know, I couldn't do this if I wasn't an idealist and an optimist, and I didn't believe that these are good people.
Right.
They're all good people, but they get elected, and you get into the system, and you quickly divide into your party. That's the way the party leaders want it. So the members themselves are not the problem. The party leaders are the problem. The people that control the party and the people that have usurped all the authority. So that's exactly what's the problem. People in Washington, don't really speak about that often. They all know it, but if you speak about it too much, you don't get your phone calls returned. And I think our organization, who we are, we're fearless. I'm a full-time volunteer. There's no other project beyond this project. What we're doing, and we're organizing and understanding that so we can create a third block where leaders can be independent and not have to do exactly what a leader of their party says.
Hmm. And so when we talk about the system, is it broken then? And is there a way that we can fix it? And is this the way?
This is the way. This is the way that's not going to take 30 years of Supreme Court challenges and state by state efforts and everything else. It's the people. And it's the people that are the party leaders, that are the heads. The hope of optimism that we should all have is our party leaders, almost all of them, are, this in the next 2 to 4 years may be their last go round here. So there's going to be generational change. And, the point is that the party leaders over the last many, many years ended up usurping all the power, ended up, making it so that there's no more power with committee chairmen. They've taken all the power. The party leaders are the sole people that decide which bill goes to the floor. It's not supposed to work that way. Our founders always called this a representative democracy, and they wanted a committee structure, and they wanted rank and file members from all of our various states, 435 congressional districts and 100 senators, to be able to work on committees, do their work, vote out their bills, and on their own be able to put their bills on the floor. It doesn't work that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. I had the privilege, and I thank you for this, for observing a meeting of the Problem Solvers Caucus. And thank you for the opportunity to do that. You mentioned at some point that the third power is critical at this moment and it's ripe. Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, what you came into was something we call the bicameral. So, we were the ones that originated the idea of having a problem solvers caucus in the United States House of Representatives. So we initiated that and introduced all these members together. So they ultimately formed this caucus, which now is the go-to caucus for bipartisan activity, which is the only activity that's ever going to solve a problem in the House. And, now the effort that we're on is how do you bring the Senate leaders over to the House leaders so they can talk together? Can you imagine that, they've never spoken before. They never knew each other before. So what you were walking into was something we call the bicameral, which I hope will be another independent organ of the United States Congress. I hope that we can move out of the room. They will assume it, as they did with the Problem Solvers Caucus, and run this meeting, which is bringing together Senate and House to start working together on legislation and talking about it. I mean, what's happened all these years is the House is off to its own. They work on their legislation, they send it to the Senate, but nobody's ever discussed or had conversations. So it just goes to the Senate graveyard. It doesn't go anywhere, doesn't move. It's to all of us, regular people, it's just common sense idea that if two chambers have to pass the same laws,
Right.
might as well talk with each other. So that's what you walked into. And my hope is in about a year, they will assume control of it and it'll be a freestanding, coalition of the United States Congress.
When you talk about talking together about things, I think if I remember, I saw a picture or something. I think it was at No Labels, and I think it was a picture of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so is that representative of what you are representing?
Yeah.
Is like back in the day when people used to talk and get, work things through, collaborate and compromise?
Exactly. I mean, these two figures, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, you had a very conservative president and a very liberal Speaker of the House, but they didn't let that label get in the way. They put the labels aside and they figured out how to get big things done for the American people. That is the point of government, to solve problems. That's the only thing government should be doing, is solving problems. And so I think our bicameral is a good step in the right direction.
And at the end of the meeting, Joe Lieberman, who is not an elected official any longer, a former presidential candidate, he said something like, every 25 years or so, our country has a revolution of sorts. And I was wondering what your thoughts on that comment was. And it was an inspiring talk that he was giving to the group. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Listen, that's happened in our history, and we're at a moment right now where it's going to take some sort of revolution. It's going to take members inside this Congress, because this Congress is dysfunctional, to band together and to challenge the party leaders and create a bit of a rebellious, revolt, so that they can get power back into their hands, as it should be, the rank and file members, and really try to begin to solve problems.
Mm-hmm. It must be so frustrating for many to be elected and go through that process. And I didn't mention this to you, but when I was young, I was an intern on the on in Congress for my local representative, and so I got to see and learn so much during that time. And as we mentioned at the outset, these are people, they want to come and do good things, but when you get there, must be so frustrating for them. And now I'm seeing, much like Evan Bayh, uh, elected officials saying, "I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do it. I'm out." And that's such a shame. What's going to change that?
Well, I think it's the work we're doing that it's going to change it. And, these members, you hear it all the time. It's the best hour. They all meet as Problem Solvers Caucus, you know, once a week. We have a bicameral every couple of weeks, but, there's no other place to have a conversation with the person on the other side. And, listen, today we're on the cusp of a very important week, a proof of concept of the organization. The COVID relief bill may be voted on this week, and it was going nowhere. It was dead in its tracks. The leaders hadn't spoken to each other in months. And this group, our group of problem solvers and the Senate allies, got together, worked day and night for weeks, came up with a compromise plan, and got it out front. And my sense is that everybody around here believes if there is a deal, it will be because of that work. So we can take a small, hat tip or whatever for helping these leaders meet each
Definitely.
other, know each other, and get in a room together to solve problems.
I'll tell you, just witnessing it, being a fly on the wall, I came away energized and optimistic, because there was real respect and conversation going on. And it wasn't always easy conversation, but I could sense the respect and the true wanting to find a good common place that they could get something going. And they did. They presented language that I believe they'll be sharing with the leadership here moving forward. What's your hope for the next 4 years as we sort of transition, as we do transition into a new president, a new administration? And what's your hope, and what do you think, based on your experience, will actually happen?
Right. Listen, of course, the hope is that we can cut through, we can get the two sides working together, and we can try to get some big problems solved for the country. So that's going to be the hope. What do I think? It's hot out there, right, with both sides. We've come off this election. The country is terribly divided, um, and it's a little hot. I think, Biden is a good person to be here to try to cool the fires. I think that we need to keep growing this coalition, to keep strengthening it. I believe they're going to have a success this week. That is really going to empower them to do more and more and more. It's going to send a message to the other members of the United States Congress. If you want to do things, get into this group and start building this coalition and pushing back from your leaders and get with the other rank and file. And what I really think is 2024 will be the ultimate reset renaissance moment. I think we're just going to have to wait. If we really want to see a reset in this country where we can cool the fires and really start taking on the big challenges, I think 2024 is the due date.
Interesting. Based on your experience, who in the House or the Senate, even maybe new cabinet members that might be coming in, who is truly leading with genuine care in our government right now? Some of the
Well,
people that come to your mind.
right. I mean, Josh Gottheimer and Tom Reed are the co-chairs of that caucus. They have some great lieutenants with them. Abigail Spanberger, Brian Fitzpatrick, Dusty Johnson, Dean Phillips. I mean, those people are great. So there's true believers. They're crusaders, because that's what it takes to fight the forces of the party leaders. And in the Senate, Joe Manchin is fabulous. A person that we've gotten to know in the last year and a half or so, Senator Bill Cassidy, a former gastroenterologist, from Louisiana, gave up his medical practice to try to come in and help solve problems. And Senator Susan Collins, who is the embodiment of a leader that understands the importance of bipartisan problem solving. So those are some of the leaders. And I do believe newly elected, President-elect Joe Biden is going to be a very good force and partner for these people.
Okay, great. So I'm curious, as a global leader, when we look at America, and I think about our ability as a country to lead with genuine care, what responsibility as citizens do we have in all this? I don't know that we always show up with genuine care, not only for each other, but maybe globally.
Yeah. I mean, that saying that you never really know a man until you walk in their shoes, right? I mean, we have to show respect. We have to be the change that we want our leaders to be. How can we expect them to be better and do better if we can't ourselves? And I think this election was such a test of that. We all know it. I mean, we've all have friends on either side that were very stuck, in their way. And, believe it or not, none of these people are all good or all bad. And, it's some of us have to step back and say, you know what, we're not going to follow the leader, the people that are stoking us up, the people that are ginning us up. And for anybody to think that's not a business, or that's not, there's not people that are smarter, that they know what they're doing as they gin up, whether it's the media or campaign consultants or anybody else. So I challenge people to lose their naivete, to think that they're not forces that are not always good doing that.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, where can people educate themselves better?
Yeah, well, that's the big problem, because our media is now segmented. Our news is now not news, it's opinions, right? So it's hard to get news anymore. It's just all about somebody's opinion. I mean, it's the most stunning development, and that is a problem. There's not a no labels network. There's not a place that you can go and just get the facts and see it with clear eyes right now. So we'll do our best, if you come into our website, but that is a big problem.
I'm for your next venture being the No Labels Network. I love that.
Right.
That would be fantastic. Well, is there anything I'm forgetting to ask, or something that you want to share that I may have forgotten?
I guess the one thing I'd say is, I think there's, people tend to forget the difference that you can make. The truth is, you can band together. It doesn't take millions. Sometimes it only takes a couple hundred. You can make a difference. So, all I'd say is activate, be careful to listen to the other side and stay open. Don't shut people out, or down. And, it's always better to light the candle than to curse the darkness.
Thank you for that. That is the wisest of words. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank you so much. I sent you an email out of the blue. You don't know who I am from anybody. And so I want to thank you for your willingness to take the time and chat with me on 2 occasions, this being one of them, for giving me the opportunity to learn more about what you're doing and how this, practically is actually taking place by being able to view in on one of the meetings, and really to bring this conversation of leading with genuine care to the forefront. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you.
And to all the loyal listeners, I greatly appreciate you spending time with us today, and I wish you all, as always, much love and gratitude.